Okay, so for my unit of study, I chose to cover Newton's three laws of motion with my 12th grade physics class. And I'm currently not in practice, but so I designed this in mind of my classroom last year. So there were only 4 kids in it because physics is an elective, and so not everyone is required to take it. And so in that class, I had 3 girls and 1 boy. And one of the girls was, she's an English language learner from Laos, but she has been in America for 3 years now, and so her English is actually really good. And so she doesn't have many issues with that. And so, like I said, they're all older students, and physics is an elective, and so they chose to take the class, and so they all enjoy learning. They enjoy science in general, and so they are super on top of anything that you throw at them. And so for my unit, I chose to put it on Google Classroom. The school that I was at didn't have like a Schoology or anything like that, like a required learning management system, and so, but they did have the Google Classroom suite or the Google suite. So I chose to do Google Classroom. And so again, I chose Newton's three laws of motion. And so there, as you can see, it's all under the same topic, and it's all in the order that they need to do each one of the lessons. There's 6 lessons total. They've got several different discussions. This one right here is a discussion question where this is kind of a community building activity where they're discussing things if they had to evacuate the International Space Station, if they were living on there and they had to evacuate for whatever reason, what things would they grab and why? And then they have to respond to 2 other classmates. So they have to do that before they begin their lessons. Then they do 4 more lessons. They have another discussion question in here, and then do 5, 6. And so their unit assignment for this, so what they are doing is they are pretending that they are an entry and descent landing engineer for NASA. And entry and descent landing engineers, they're the ones that are responsible for like landing rovers on Mars or on the moon or anything like that. And so what they're doing is they're designing parachutes and airbags on a rover that is going to land on the moon. And so in their final assignment, they have to have, a brief explanation of different methods that EDL engineers use to land rovers on the moon. They have to have their final parachute design, their final airbag design, and each design has to have all forces labeled on it, because that's the gist of Newton's three laws of motion, is that it covers all different types of forces and how they interact with one another. And each design has to have a scientific explanation for why they chose to do, I chose to do 4 parachutes on the back because X, Y, Z. And they have to explain how each one of Newton's laws contributes to each of their designs. And so then they have 3 different methods that they can present this information that they learned. They can write a paper, they can do a video, or they can do a presentation. And their rubric is attached right here. So if you go back to classroom, I'm just going to go through a couple of their lessons. Each one of these lessons, they also have unit instructions that they can go to, where they can see the actual standards, and they can see, okay, this is supposed to take you this many days. Like it's a typed out, okay, you need to have this done by this day. You need to have this done by this day. Here's what we're trying to do. Go look at your unit assignment, X, Y, Z. And so we're going to look at a couple of lessons. So this is the 3rd lesson. And so this one is on Newton's first law of motion. And it is saying I can use their I can statements are up here. And what they're doing is they're going and they're watching 2 different videos. One of them is a football video, and then the other one is a football video that discusses laws of motion, and the other one talks about it's just a brief overview of Newton's first law of motion. And then they're taking notes while they're watching this. So then they're going to a website and they're playing with a simulator, and they're supposed to take a picture with their cell phone and post it to a discussion board and explain kind of why the bucket is moving and what that has to do with Newton's first law. And then they are going to start designing their parachute. And so this is their first draft. And so they're supposed to start drawing it out and start kind of labeling all of their forces and everything. And then they're uploading it onto this website called Dot Storming. And they're supposed to have classmates respond to it. And then they've got an exit ticket that's on Google Forms. So that's one example. And then I've got another example here. And so here are their I can statements. Again, they're watching another video. This one's from Khan Academy. And then they're going to reflect on what they did and submit their paragraph to the discussion board. And I put in here, if there's anything you don't understand, make sure you come and see me, just to do a little check-in if anybody's not sure on what they're doing. And so then they're doing a lab, and this lab deals with carts on a it kind of simulates as it's a zero friction cart. And so they are using these and they're performing the lab. They've got their lab instructions and the lab worksheet. And so then they're supposed to reflect on what they did. And they have to answer a question. So like, how do mass and acceleration contribute to force? And then if you increase the mass of an object, what would you have to do in order to have that object continue accelerating at the same rate? What would you have to do if you want to increase the acceleration of an object? And then they're going to Flipgrid and they're going to share their answers to these questions. So, and then I've got one more I wanted to show. And so again, I can statements up here. This one, instead of watching a video, they're going to read and take notes. And then they're going around the room and they're finding 3 balance of forces, and they're going to draw free body diagrams for each one. And they're going to turn those into me. And then they're going to Canva and they are going to think about their final project again. And so they're starting to consider the forces that are present for that final project. And so they're going to do a before, during, and after of what the forces look like. So before the rover is landing on the moon, during, so when the rover is landing on the moon, and after the rover lands on the moon, what all forces are present. So they're going to do that. They're going to put it in a Canva, and they're going to upload that. So going to go back to classroom here. So again, it's so several different types of assessment that are going on. You know, I've got Canva in here, Flipgrid, dot storming, discussion boards, differentiation. Students are kind of allowed to pick, you know, what they're choosing to, how they're choosing to represent their final project. They're also getting a lot of freedom in their designs. You know, I'm not giving them a lot of guidelines on like, oh, your design has to include this, because I want them to, you know, really think about it and really get creative with it and do what they want to do with their designs. So this is my unit. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much.